sabre mima obi biara akwaba stories ayensa aka ena ye bejai egu ho ama Ghana yemunra ensem no emu.
Parliament are accusing the Finance Minister and the Controller and Accountant General of conniving to block and unlawfully withdraw 1.4 billion Ghana cedis from the District Assembly's Common Fund account at the Bank of Ghana. The group says this follows an earlier withdrawal of 11.3 million Ghana cedis between February and April 2025, a move they say has further crippled development efforts at the local government level. Addressing journalists in Parliament, the Minority Chief Whip Frank Anadompre called on President Mahama to take immediate action against what he termed an illegality and ensure the full recovery of the funds before Tuesday.
This is the news. So on the 4th of November, they paid the third quarter to the controller, released it, and it went to the account of the District Assembly Common Fund. Then on the 11th of November, they blocked the same payment. So the release was done, the money reflected in the account on the 4th of November. On the 11th of November, they blocked their account. Then on the 12th of same November, they swept the account. The amount involved is some 1.4 billion Ghana cedis. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, you know there's a Supreme Court ruling, the Podo case, where the Supreme Court gave a landmark ruling that these payments are constitutional payments. And once they are done, they are not other directives. The Minister of Finance and the Controller cannot direct or redirect or reassign this payment. As we speak, it is clear that the finance in caput, the finance minister in caput with the controller are micromanaging the funds of the District Assembly Common Fund. There are implications to this. Now, they are redirecting these funds to where they so please. And it's against the Constitution. This is totally unconstitutional. And they've done it the first time. They blocked the 3.3 million. They blocked the 11 million. After several complaints, they returned 3 million. The 11 million is still outstanding. Now they've gone to the extent of blocking and sweeping as much as 1.4 billion. And contrary to the information they put out in our earlier engagement, this is a deception.
Let's take you to Parliament, where the 2026 budget is expected to be presented in some few hours. And Kweku Asante joins me on the line. Kweku, have we gotten some responses to this so far?
We've been trying to get the majority side to get us an indication of what it made of these claims that have now been made by the minority led by their chief whip.
Made by the minority led by their chief whip. We haven't gotten any indication yet. A lot of them telling me that it is pretty normal for bank accounts to be swept at the end of a certain financial year. They are yet to go on the record, and we expect that in the coming hours perhaps we'll get some. One even telling me that if the finance minister feels it necessary because of the nature of the allegations, he may do so in the 2026 budget, which will be presented in about 2 or 3 hours' time. In fact, it's a little past 12 now. The original schedule is that the budget is to be presented at 2 p.m. And so when the finance minister comes at 2 p.m. and he feels it is necessary to do so, he will. But I'm getting some indication from the majority MPs on some of the economic committees, finance committee, budget committee, committee on economy, all of them telling me that they feel these are very important issues. And ultimately, when the need arises, they will respond to it. It is pretty simple because of the funds also involved. 1.3 billion Ghana cedis. That Frank Anadompre says is meant for development in the local communities that have now been swept by the finance ministry to do other things. And it is not his allegation that the money has been stolen or anything of the sort. It is that the money has been taken contrary to the rules and it has been used for other purposes, and that is the claim that has been made by Frank Anadompre. But as you see in the chamber, and you see from just behind me, a lot of MPs are coming in. The proceedings for the budget itself is at 2 p.m., like I said. but there's a very major business that is expected to be transacted any moment from now. That has to do with the approval or otherwise of the Chief Justice nominee, Justice Bafuboni, the current acting Chief Justice, the longest serving justice currently on the Supreme Court. You will recall that on Monday, the appointment committee had a marathon sitting. It started just a little after 11 and it dragged till after 7 p.m. because of a number of issues that were raised on the floor. But it was a one-sided vetting ultimately because the minority boycotted proceeding from a certain part. They walked out because they said they rejected in entirety the nomination of Justice Bafuboni because of certain issues that had come up with the removal of the predecessor, Madam Gertrude Esaba Araba Tokono, and that is why they walked out. But the majority proceeded to vet the nominee, and then we understand they've made a recommendation that by majority decision, Parliament has to approve Justice Bafuboni. So when the Speaker of Parliament walks in, what is going to happen is that they are going to debate the report. It was laid on the floor yesterday. It will be debated on both sides. The minority, despite walking out, will still stay on the floor and make very forceful argument as to why they believe that Justice Bafuboni should not become the next Chief Justice. And because it's a majority decision, the nature is expected ordinarily it will be by vote. That is physical vote. MPs will be called one by one to go to booth that will be set up on both sides of the Speaker and then to vote. But given what we've seen also in the past where even though the minority objected to certain nominees, they just allow the process to go by way of a voice vote. And so that is also very likely in this circumstance that all of this will be by a voice vote and the minority will simply make their objection and do that. And so a number of MPs, the chamber is filling up, and when the Speaker of Parliament walks in, that will be done. And I already see that the majority and the minority leaders have all gone in and they've gone to see the Speaker. So we have Dr. Kabiru Mahama here. He's going to talk to us about the 2025 budget and what the expectations are. So let's pivot back to that. Kabiru Mahama, the budget is going to come in 2 hours. Already, the government is touting the job they've done. They say that they've built a resilient economy and they're going to build on that for 2026. You get the same sense from what the government side have been telling you?
Well, so first and foremost, we must contextualize it that it is an IMF-supported budget, and the previous successes were based on the program that were contained in the IMF Extended Credit Program. The government cannot tell the story of successes without bringing it within the whole context of the IMF program. After this particular budget they are going to present, that is where we are going now to see their real size because it will be off the IMF program by then. So for whatever is being done, we know that the big brother is in the house holding the cane and they are going to live within the dictates. Is
that really accurate? Because there was a 2024 budget. We were still on IMF. 2023, we went in 2022. The challenges were there. So some would say that even though we are still on an IMF program, the government has done specific things that have anchored the economy.
The IMF program was for 3 years, 2024, 25, 26, right? And that is why it was for a period. The expectation was that certain achievement would have been chalked within 3 years. And that is why you saw the macroeconomic indicators improving even as at the time the MPP was leaving office. They have been improved much more better than the MPP left them, which is a fact. But they are all part of the plan of action that the MPP actually signed with the IMF program. So for me, it is part of the story. We cannot say, if you want to commend the government for the success, yes, but you need to commend the IMF, you need to commend the government that even brought in the IMF program. That's the only way you can be fair and candid with the analysis when it comes to the role government is playing. Of course, government could have decided to derail from the program, but the fact that they are also sticking and ensuring fiscal discipline is something that we need to commend. But that commendation is not exclusive. It has to be done in the context of all the successive government and also the previous government and also the IMF program that we are in.
What are your own expectations this morning? We understand the finance minister is going to be big on reviewing VAT, major tax reforms. What are your own readings?
Well, so that is what we are expecting. We hope that that review of that does not translate into tax burden for the good people of Ghana, because definitely it is something that the good people of Ghana will not accept. I also expect that government will have to introduce more members that will put money into the pockets of people. Definitely. The fiscal consolidation and monetary tightening has made it so difficult for the good people of Ghana, the ordinary Ghanaian, to afford certain goods. Even though inflation is coming down, has come down. The money to buy, even at the relatively lower prices, is not there for them to buy. And I think that government will have to, much more so, government will have to look at how do they create jobs. Because the private sector cannot be the vehicle for the absorption of the large number of graduates which will churn out from the universities. Yes, so that's what I'm saying, that the private sector, how is the government going to be the engine or a vehicle or what do you call it, a stimuli for the private sector to be able to take on the burden? So government will have to see what incentives are in the budget for the people of Ghana and businesses to thrive. Again, we expect government to see how they are going to address arrears, because contractors have done work over the previous years, they are not paid. What is the plan of action for the government? Because once contractors are paid, it's able to, improve, the whole health of the economy, because there's a multiplier effect of how money is in the hands of contractors, because they will pay service providers and all, what have you. So that is what we expect, and anything short of that, we expect that the government should do away with the COVID-19 leaving, because there's no reason why in their own words, they made a promise about in the 2024 campaign, and they have kept on saying that there's no reason why it should still be in our tax laws. So our expectation is that they will remove the COVID-19 levy as well.
If they do all of this, then the people like them. So that is bad news for the NPP.
Well, the ability of a government to come to power is not just what the government is doing well, but the alternative. If I give you water, and the water is actually, if you are being, but the water is not purified, and I come to purify the water for you, you like me than the one who is just giving you water. So that will even put the NPP in a much more challenging situation to be able to think outside of the box. So we expect government, the whole essence of government is to make the lives of people better. We don't hope the NDC fails because we want to come to power. But if they succeed, it will force us to raise the bar, and the good people of Ghana will enjoy at the end of the day.
The last one before you go, just if the speaker comes in, the Chief Justice nominee is going to come. Your side walked out of the process the last time. There's going to be a big debate. Where's your head as in the minority?
Our position is clear. The legitimacy of the Chief Justice cannot be, rectified by this particular house. There is an issue pending before the court, the determination of which is not within Parliament to decide. Parliament cannot be seen to be doing something that will prejudice the pending issue before court. So once the minority raise that particular point, that is the position we will take. If the majority decides to, go on with the vote and the vote is carried, we will know that definitely that history, that precedent that has been set before this house did not involve the minority members of the house in that decision taken.
Thank you very much. Dr. Abdul Kabir Mahama is let's try and see if we can talk to Honorable Frank Efriye of Afajato to get some very brief understanding. I called you a moment ago. I think you were reading some documents. What are your own expectations given that the presentation is just about to happen? Well, the minority say things are going well, but it's because the IMF is supporting the economy here and there. What are your own reading of all that is going on with the economy?
No, I think that the greatest verdict is with the people of Ghana. The management of this economy, even under IMF, is a matter of public records. And so the IMF was with the MPP regime, and yet we all saw the indicators, the volatilities, the instabilities, and of course, if you talk about the exchange rates, the inflations and everything, they were all skyrocketing and going in the wrong direction. Today, it takes a lot of fiscal discipline, a lot of discipline in other sectors in order to ensure that we invest and put our money where our mouth lies. And so it's not just about having the IMF as headmaster in the office. That's why the NDC government is performing. It is through prudent management by a competent team. And of course, we really want to prove to the Ghanaian that when we say we'll do it, we are ready to walk the talk. Share sacrifice. The ruling class must be able to sacrifice much as the ordinary Ghanaian sacrifices so that we fix the system for the good of all of us.
Your constituents will be watching. What are your own expectations in the budget? You've asked a couple of questions sometimes about your roads, about water infrastructure, all the things that are very important to the Ghanaian people. One of the things the minority have kept saying is that the finance minister is not releasing money, and so projects are not moving as much of it. Generally, what are your own expectations of the finance minister presenting this budget in terms of translating to development to the priority of the people of Ghana and for Afadjatu South constituency?
No, Kuku, already, how the verdict is clear. See, our people concede when we are together in private meetings. If you take a municipality like Oforikrom, I'm a member of the Local Government and Rural Development Committee. The last time we sat and invited them, the whole of last year, that is 2024, the common fund that was released by the MPP government was 1 million. Indeed, already the two tranches that they had was 11 million. Look at the difference between 1 million and 11 million. And the year hasn't ended. The third tranche is just about being released to them. And so these monies are tied to specific projects such as water provision, provision of health infrastructure, education infrastructure, the very things that make life very okay for almost all of us, particularly the ordinary person. I am particularly excited because I represent a highly marginalized constituency. My place is agrarian, it's not developed. We are seeking to make judicious use of the available resources. And so today, as the physicals are quite stable, I am expecting that there will be more sustainable measures that will be outlined so that the very foundation that His Excellency's regime has laid will translate into what? Enjoyable fruit for my people to enjoy.
Thank you very much, Honorable Frank Efriye, MP for Afadjatu South, talking to me about what his own expectations are. We'll get a couple more MPs to come and join us here because this is a very important budget. And as you hear, the NDC already talking about, MPP I should say, already talking about what they say is IMF-supported budget. The idea that the economy is stable because there's an IMF program, but Frank Efriye disagrees. He says it's not because there's some headmaster in the room that is supervising, and that is why things are going. It's because Dr. Kesela Forson and the John Dramani Mahama government are actually taking real, bold economic steps that are changing the fortunes of the ordinary people of Ghana. And they expect that is going to continue ultimately and improve the lot of Ghanaians. But this is also a very big budget because this is the second budget. The first is usually because the government wants to stabilize things. They've just inherited whether mess or greatness from a previous government, and they are trying to put their signature on the economy. And so some of those things are much expected. Dr. Kesela Forson in the 2025 budget laid out what he thought was going to be the premise and the most important aspects of the government. That is why we got to hear about the big push and all the big money that they are going to put in that. Already the president has been going around the country cutting sword for certain important projects to happen. And all of that has been done. 2026 is for the government